to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. My name is Tom Dutta. I am the Quiet Warrior, and I'm excited to have on our show today a very special guest and a good friend. Before I do that, I want to just tell you that we're live streaming across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you're going to be seeing the taping of a podcast and the creation of a YouTube premiere video. And that will air next week on Tuesday and Thursday. More details about that soon. But ladies and gentlemen, the show today is all about my guest, Mr. Alan Warburton. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, Alan, I'm excited. And listen, I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm going to do things differently today. There's something big that's going to happen, I believe, on March the 27th. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I can, Tom. I'm very privileged to be the curator and the lead organizer for TEDxBearCreekPark, which is held in Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. And we are having a virtual TEDx event on March the 27th. Last year, we had a wonderful in-person event. We'd love to have done it again this year, but we aren't able to do that. And our sponsors, our partners, have been really generous to us this year. And they have allowed us to actually be able to put on this event so that we can offer people the opportunity to be involved with complimentary. The tickets are going to be free. It's been a rough winter for all of us, and this is our gift to you, our audience. So on March the 27th, from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 a.m., approximately 3 hours, there will be a fast-paced, fun, enjoyable TEDx event that will be taking place, and it will be open and free to you.
Wow. And well, everybody, listen, you got to go back and listen to that announcement. I'm vibrating in my chair. When was the last time you had a free gift, a gift to a TEDx? I don't think I've ever seen a free TEDx event in my lifetime. And ladies and gentlemen, many of you know that last year I stood on the stage and did a TED Talk, and it changed my life. To be in the room that day, Alan, and to experience the excitement, I've seen a peek into the plans you have for March 27, and I'm just totally excited. Everybody, let's get the word out and let's find our way to be there. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this man. There's greatness behind Alan. Alan enjoyed 34 years in education, and he spent the last 20 years of his career as a school principal. And he is a distinguished Toastmaster. I happen to know Alan through my experience with my TED Talk and learning about how well-spoken he is, and he taught me many things. Notably, he was qualified for the World Championships of Public Speaking on 2 occasions, in San Francisco in 2009 and Cincinnati in 2013. And he's deeply involved, as you know, the curator, the founder, the licensee. Now, to a lot of people watching this who don't know what a TEDx is or don't understand terms like curator, licensee. Alan, why don't you tell us a bit about that? Just tell us what TED is, how that originated, and what does it mean to be the curator and the licensee?
Yeah, I think probably most people have heard of TED. And the whole idea behind it, TED, is ideas worth spreading. So people who've got compelling ideas that they want to share with people, they have events to do this. So there is TED, and then there is TEDx. And TEDx is a locally organized TED-type event. So local people who are volunteers will get involved with this. To be able to do that, the licensee is the person who applies to TED to get a license to be able to do this. It's a fairly rigorous process, and you get the license for 1 year only, which allows TED then, if things don't go the way they'd like it to go, to then not renew that license at the end of the year. So that's what happens, and it's up to the organizer to then put into place a TEDx event that will include speakers and energizers, a change of pace with music, an opportunity for people at the local level to attend an event and really be inspired. I mean, I think that's what I've got from TEDx events to this point is they inspire people's hearts and minds, and they bring people together for a wonderful time, a time of renewal, a time of rejuvenation. So that's really what's behind the TEDx event.
Well, thank you, Alan. I think last year's event, if I recall, was the theme was a shift in thinking, and certainly many people that I know that attend or even watch TED videos have a shift in their thinking, and it impacts them deeply in their lifetime. I want to ask you a question about this whole notion of the speakers who will be appearing, and this event is very different. Tell us about a little behind the scenes about how challenging or different it is to produce a virtual event like this.
Well, in terms of the curation side, that is, the organizing of your program and the finding of the speakers, it's fairly similar to a regular program. We're going to go out, and for us, what we want to do is we want to have people talking on a variety of different topics from different areas. And we have 6 specific areas that we look at, from science and technology and a variety of other ones. And we go out and we seek out those picks from people who will be able to speak or have ideas in those specific areas. So we secure our speakers through this process. But this time, of course, once we got to that point, the preparation for the next stage, the coaching time for the speakers, becomes quite different. Because in the past, what we've been doing is preparing, like with you, Tom, last year, we were preparing the speakers then to go on a stage and be on the round red rug in front of up to 1,000 people, and you're the only one there. You've got all these people who are looking at you. You need to be really, really well prepared for that. Well, this year, we will be pre-recording our event, and when our speakers go on a stage, we will be on a stage. We want the speakers to have that authentic experience, and they go on the stage to present, and there won't be anybody there. They're presenting to an empty room, basically. However, the flip side of that is that we are going to really be marketing this far and wide, and because it's virtual, and because it's on the internet, and because it's complimentary to everybody, we are anticipating thousands of people joining us on that day from many countries around the world. And in that case, when the speakers go on, although they're there, they know when they actually is being shown, there could be up to 10,000 people there, which is what we're aiming for. So it's a very different arrangement that way, a little bit of a different mentality as far as the speakers are concerned.
Absolutely. Everybody, I think this is a teaching moment. If we draw the parallel to business, many business leaders struggle with their businesses and shifting to bring it to a Zoom or a virtual reality like what you're hearing Alan talk about. It takes a big visionary mind to think about what you just said, Alan. And I had written down the word limitless in terms of your imagination and what I learned about you. But I want to dig a little bit into your background. I was asking myself the other day, and certainly when we first met, I didn't think about it that much. Here's a man, 34 years in education, a principal. Man, I remember being called to your office a couple of times when I was in school, and everybody has this warm and fuzzy feeling of maybe different about the principal in school. How I know you're from England and you made the journey to Canada. You're been in education a long time, and now you're retired. But tell us, where did this all start? I mean, how did you get to where you are and decide I'm going to do this? I'm going to do this TED, take TED to the large scale in a vision like this.
That's interesting, Tom. Yeah, I retired a good number of years ago in the early 2000s. And when you've been as busy as I was as a school principal, it's a very, very busy life, and suddenly you stop. It becomes difficult. You can get bored pretty quickly. And I found that I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And the initial excitement of not having to go to work every day, not having all the responsibilities, wears off pretty quickly, actually. It did for me anyway. I needed to have something that was different and new. And that's when I joined Toastmasters. That's when I started to get involved with public speaking. And going into fortunate to do reasonably well there. And over the years, I built a lot of friendships connected to Toastmasters. And then in 2000, it would be 2018, I guess, 2017, a friend of mine in Toastmasters told me that he had got a license for a TEDx, and would I be interested in being a curator? I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But because I enjoy doing different things, I said, well, let's have a look at it and see what it is. And I had a good look and went over the TED website, etc., and I thought, well, this is interesting. I mean, I really didn't know anything about TED. And so I said yes, and I got into it and stumbled and bumbled my way through the first year, and got to the end of that year. And as it happened, with that particular event, the organizer wasn't that interested in going beyond a smaller event. With TED, you start off with being restricted to 100 attendees. To go beyond that, you have to get certain things in place. And I thought, wow, the city of Surrey, we're way over 500,000 people. There's no TEDx there. I'd like to see a much bigger event. So I talked to some friends who were interested, and we put together a leadership team. I applied for a license, and we got it. And I guess the rest is history, really.
Well, it really is history. And tell me about the whole field of education. I mean, even before TED, you decided to move into education, and 34 years is a long time. What drove you to do that? Was there a moment in your life, or was there a backstory that had you discovered this is really my passion?
It's interesting because at school I was not a very good student. I was disorganized, uninterested, and failed key exams at critical periods of my life, which I had to redo. Then I finished schooling and was working. I decided to work for a year, and during that year, I thought, you know what? I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I need to do something else. And I had a friend who'd gone to a teacher training college, and listening in to him, I thought, you know what? That kind of appeals to me. The whole idea of being a teacher. I was doing a fair bit of coaching at that time. I love coaching sports. So once I got into that and I went to college, it just took hold from there. It was a natural for me. I really, really enjoy kids, which you have to in teaching.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's a very rough road. And I enjoy the whole world of being involved in education. And I was, over the period of time, the 34 years, I was in 3 different countries, and I think something like 11 different schools. So I had tons of variety in different places that I worked in. And I loved it. I really did.
Yeah, I'm just writing notes down here. Those who listen to the podcast won't see this, but I'm actually taking those 34 year, or how many countries did you say you were in? It was 3
countries. I started off in the UK, which is where I went to college. I had my first year there. And then there was I saw a Times educational supplement in England is something whereby years ago you used to be able to get jobs abroad through that. And there was an advertisement for a 3-year teaching position in the Bahamas. So it's something that, if you're interested in doing something different, we will turn that down. So I applied for that and was able to get it, and had 3 wonderful years down there. I love working with the kids there. In fact, 2 years ago, my wife and I went to the Bahamas, went back to the school, visited there, went back to the community where I was teaching, and met up with some of the kids who are now in their mid-60s and were grandparents. And
Wow.
We had a wonderful time together. Very warm people, the Bahamians. And so that was great. And at the end of that time, we had a visit to Canada, been to Vancouver, actually. I thought, oh, this is a nice place. I'd love to live here. So I applied for a position in Vancouver area, couldn't get in. So I went up north to Chetwynd, BC for a year, and then was able to get a position in Richmond, which brought me back down to the lower mainland, and I stayed there for the rest of my career.
It's fantastic. So fascinating. The thriving metropolis of Chetwynd. Yes, I have friends, and I believe I visited there. Everybody, what you're hearing here is really what you really don't see with somebody who's a leader and creates a production with a team like a TED event. This man is passionate. I think I heard you say kids. Every time you say something, my brain goes on a journey. I'm 3-dimensional in the way I think, Alan. And my experience is this is about storytelling, which I love. But I went to the Bahamas a long, long time ago on a trip. It was a reward trip with a company, and my wife was with me. And I can't remember the exact location, but we went to what was called the Ranfurly Home for Children. And it was amazing. We got off this bus. It was about 20 of us. We had presents, and I believe we took a check for $5,000 from the organization. As we opened the doors, this place was full of children who are orphans.
Yeah.
And I befriended this one young boy, never forget him, and his brother. And I remember talking to them, and I said, where's your parents? And they just looked at me and said, I don't know. And he was a few years older, caring for this cute little boy. And that was their life. That was their existence. And something magical happened as I was leaving. He and I went into the courtyard and threw hoops and played basketball. And I started feeling my heart growing, and I couldn't detach myself from him. We went back into the main building where all the kids were gathered. And remember, there's 25 of us adults. And this boy took me by the hand, and he took me to his room, and he showed me his guitar. And there was a broken string on his guitar. And so I'm starting to build this picture. He was shooting hoops. He was an incredible basketball shooter. Then he's in his room showing me his guitar. And we went back into the main stay, and there was a piano, and the place was very noisy with everybody talking to the kids. He sat down. He said, "Can I sing to you?" And I said, "Well, sure." And my wife was across the room, Alan, and he started playing the theme from the Titanic movie, and this incredible operatic voice came out of him. I mean, I was just blown away. I mean, I was almost in tears, and it changed me. And we left there. I never forget getting on the bus, handing a $20 bill to the lady who ran the place. I said, "Can you get Tyrone another, G string?" And I just finished writing my second book, will be published this year. And I found him on Facebook. And this is after 20 years. And I said, "Tyrone, remember, it's me." And we started a relationship, and I don't want to get into it. I might start crying here, but he's now in his early 20s, and he's a young man. And so he wrote a story that is now going to appear in my new book about his life going from adversity to something else that's greater. So thank you for that gift, because you told me a story that took me on that journey.
Mm-hmm. That's a great story.
I want to honor you for the work you're doing on this event, Ted. Certainly, we talk to business leaders about building business. One of the things I want to ask you is, when you were in sports coaching, what is a trait, or what is something that you found you could take from being a coach to being a leader and a visionary and creating something like TEDxBearCreekPark?
I think for the most part, Tom, it comes around the idea of building a team, having people having a common sense of purpose. When you're coaching, if I can use the example of the Bahamas, actually, because the kids down there were natural athletes. They were wonderful athletes, but they'd never been coached in track and field. And so I was able to give them that. And actually, with the older kids, I coached them in a particular event so that they were able to coach the younger kids, because there was just not enough of me to go around, if you like. But the idea there was sort of building together and helping each other to become better at different events. And the same thing, I think, applies when you look at something like TEDx, because our event has a series of teams. We have a leadership team. We have a curation team who have certain responsibilities. We have a coaching team. We have a marketing team. So all these teams. And we have a speaking team too. And the beauty of it is that each year with the speaker team, you can see those people becoming very, very close together as they go through the process, because we're going to stretch them. We're going to push them when it comes to the coaching. They've got that one chance to do a TEDx talk. And it's not something you take lightly. You say, "Oh, well, this is my idea, I'll just do it." No, they need to understand how it works. What are the elements of an excellent TEDx talk? How do you break that down? And we go through the scripting part to start with, so they've got that solid foundation, and then the delivery part after that. So I think that's really the essence of it. And just recently, we've been talking as a leadership team about our goals and what we want to do. And originally, when we started, we agreed that we wanted to become the premier TEDx event in the Lower Mainland. And as it happened, that came about fairly quickly. some of it was to do with us. Some of it was the fact that the two main TEDx events, that's TEDx Vancouver and TEDx Stanley Park, discontinued. So it left a vacuum which we filled. But now we're looking at it differently. We're saying, you know what? Our next step is to look at becoming the premier TEDx event in Canada. And when you set a goal like that, all of a sudden people go, oh, whoa, whoa, wait a second. Maybe that's too much. But on the other hand, it's exciting. And when you have something like that to strive for, then you up your game a little bit more. And I think that's really what's happening with our group now. Is it's a group of people who thoroughly enjoy working together towards a common end.
Yeah, no, thank you, Alan. I can see that. I can visualize you coaching. And one of the things I can share this insight because I was involved doing my TED Talk with you is that same in business. It's one thing to create a vision, but you have to be able to have people follow you. And to have people follow you, you have to have humility. And, I'm going to honor you and say this, that Ellen, at the end of the TED event, I remember standing on stage and everybody in the production had you come out on stage and they thanked you. But I think what I've heard about your leadership, and I've seen it throughout this whole time you've been involved, is that you have humility. It's not about you. And in order to create a vision and have people follow, sometimes the vision is hard. Sometimes, like you said, people will say, whoa, 10,000 people. You have passion for this work. And I can see now the thread that goes back to your love for helping others, teaching children. Just fantastic. It's such a great story. You did one thing that was remarkable, I thought, and you attended the big, explain it the way it should be explained, the big TED event in Vancouver. Give us a snippet of what that was like. You told us about that.
Yeah, it really wasn't necessarily my intention to attend a major TED event because I have to drop a lot of money to do that. This was in 2019, and it cost $10,000 US to attend that for a full week from Monday to Friday. But the main reason I went was because if you want to move your TEDx event from being restricted to 100 attendees to having no limitations on the attendance, the number of people who come, then the lead organizer, the licensee, must have attended a major TED event. So that was a precondition. And so fortunately, it was something I needed to do. And so I did it, and it was wonderful. And that's actually, Tom, that's what influenced me a great deal. Because when I got to that event on the very first morning, it was a wet April Vancouver morning. I went in there, and right from the word go, it was just it felt like I was being treated like a VIP, and the organization was excellent. Everything was of the highest quality, and I love that. If you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability. So I was impressed with that. And the second part for me that really made a huge difference was there were a number of TEDx leaders from around the world who were there. People like a fellow who run TEDx Sydney in Australia, who now have moved from being a 100-person event to something in the region of 7,000 people who attend their events.
Wow.
Other people from around the world have these larger, well-established TEDx events. They've been going for 8, 9, 10 years. And I sat down with them and just asked them tons of questions about how they managed to get to where they got to. And they just gave me all sorts of wonderful ideas, which I was able to come back and share with the leadership team. And that really has actually inspired us a lot over the last couple of years. So the TED event was significantly more valuable to me than I imagined it would be. And it's something I will not forget.
Yeah, that's amazing. I talked to a lot of my friends since being involved in TED about that. And I don't think too many people know that they custom built that stage. And when I talk about TED, the originator or the CEO of TED and their group is in New York. And here we are in Vancouver. Everybody watching this is an international show. We have a world-class city here, and TED chose this city to do its annual event. And it is a signature event. And what inspired me about you, Alan, is Alan came away with an idea to create that same experience in TEDxBearCreekPark. Now, Alan, I'm just going to put this out there that it's the speakers and everything that went into this, but it was the vision, the idea of creating an experience. Everybody who came to that I talked to after said they will come back again because of the experience. So I want to honor you for doing that, Alan, because that truly is a visionary step. As we move to wrap up here, I just want to read a few words that I've written down here about you. But before we do that, let's remind the listeners, and by the way, this is a podcast and a YouTube premiere video, that the big announcement was just made. Tell us again, Alan, March 27th is coming soon. How can people get their complimentary tickets and be on that event?
Go to our website, TEDxBearCreekPark.ca, and check in there. We're just actually in the final stages of launching a new website. So it may be a day or two before that is up. But once that is up, you will find a little teaser video in there, and that's where you can just register for your complimentary ticket. And we'd love to see you on the live stream on Saturday, March the 27th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time.
That's awesome. I'm excited. Everybody hold the date, March 27th. Get your hot chocolate or your coffee. Doesn't matter if you're in your pajamas or not. Join that event and take this video, by the way. Find the interview on your podcast station and give it a like and honor the work that Alan and the team is doing, and share it across your social media platform. On YouTube, find this video and give it a subscribe to my channel. That's Tom Dutta. And then share it so it goes viral across your networks. The power of these moments will allow us to have as many people in the thousands see that. And for those who don't understand the power of a TED Talk, I can tell you, having done one, that there are many of us in the world who come through moments of adversity, who come up with a single thought. We want to inspire the world. And I'm an author, and those know that in the work I do, I've been told as a thought leader, there's 3 things today that a thought leader needs to do. One is to have a book and be an authority on something. 2 is to be a speaker, so you have a voice. And 3 is to have a platform. So all of those who are watching this, I encourage you to find that one nugget inside and come and see this incredible event. And then maybe, just maybe next year, step into your greatness and reach out to the organizers and be on that stage. Have a message that can change the world, just like Alan is doing here as the shepherd who is bringing together the flock to change the world one event at a time. Alan, I want to honor you with some leadership words. I write these down on my show when I'm interviewing. They're not scripted. The first one is visionary. Sir, you're a visionary. You see the future, and you've created this when others couldn't see it. Number 2, you're a shepherd. And I like to think about that British stuff we're talking about. A little guy with a dog, maybe leading the flock, but you're bringing sheep from around the world to this flock so they can put their message out. Number 3 is limitless. When we've done work together and I've seen you talk about creating this, there's no limits in what you want to do here. And passion. And number 4 is storyteller. I think we're wired for narratives, and you tell a good story. And the last one is humility, and that's already self-explained. As we finish here, I want to give you an award, Alan, and this is something that I know is maybe we didn't prepare you for. Those who come on my show who share their authentic story and live life with a purpose to change the world, become a quiet warrior. You can see on the back of my screensaver, I'm just going to shift to me for a moment there. You can see that there is an image of it's called the challenge coin. There's a guy there, looks a little bit like somebody I know. Challenge coins originated in World War I. They were carried in the pockets of soldiers to commit to each other for purpose and community. And if you didn't have yours, maybe you bought dinner or a drink. And today they're used around the world to create community. When I started the show, Alan, I wanted to find those people around the world who are using their purpose and passion to make a difference. And by carrying this coin in your pocket, you commit, sir, to always living with passion, taking action to create the life you desire with that purpose. And this is your moment. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Tribe.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that. I will treasure it, absolutely treasure it. It'll remind me of this occasion today and the sorts of responsibilities that go along with carrying something like that. Thank you.
All right. Well, I can't wait to get a photo up and give it to you. It comes in a cherry box. The back of the coin has the narrative of the hero's journey, which is really what you've been through to come to where you are with this purpose. Everybody, I just want to remind you to go to TEDxBearCreekPark.ca. Should be live soon, and register for the event March 27th. And find this podcast, give it a high rating, find the YouTube premiere, share it widely. And Alan, thank you, sir, for being on the show. I'm very excited about what's ahead.
Thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca